What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on D's Analysis. We're going to be looking at MSTR today. It's going to be a quick little update. So we're here at this golden zone after getting our bounce off of our horizontal level of support and resistance. Looking very good. We're halfway in between the 0.5 and the 618 in the bearish direction. But hopefully we can break through and get a close above the 618. Ideally, we want to see a close on the daily above the 426 level. If we can get that, then I can see us getting a bounce off of this level and pushing up higher, which would set us up for a higher move to the upside. And on the daily, once we break 450, it's pretty much a free move. There's really no resistance at all in any kind of way, shape, or form, all the way up to 530. So, I mean, pretty much all-time highs. So if you break 450, we can see all-time highs pretty quick. I'm not going to say instantly, but it's going to happen probably pretty soon after we break 450. But the momentum's looking good. Hopefully we keep the same trend. This is the perfect scenario, the way it's playing out. You can see this is kind of how we had it going, where you have like 2 or 3 days, then 1 or 2 pullbacks, 2 or 3 up days, 1 or 2 pullbacks, and eventually you get your blow off top. But that's a very steady pace that we're making. 2 days up, 1 down, 2 up, 1 down, 1 up, another day up. Even though it ended up red, it was still higher than this previous day because of the gap, and so on. You can kind of see the pattern. But this is exactly what you want to see, the stair stepping up. If we can continue this pattern, this would be perfect before we get our very aggressive high volume days. This is the perfect climb, and it's really starting to play out exactly like we said. This last leg where we had the large candle initially, which was this one, then you had kind of like a green hammer in a sense, kind of, and then you had a large green candle, then you got a bounce off of the support level, then you got to bounce off the support level, a wick off the support level here, and then we got a nice green candle up right here, and it looks like we're getting a green candle here. Let's see how we finish today. Hopefully we get a nice green engulfing candle to finish the week. Currently sitting at 413. We did open up a little bit higher, and then we kind of fell off a little bit. Let me take a look here at the 1 hour. We pushed up to 430 actually and pushed back down, but that's okay. When you take a look at the SMAs, you have the 20 on the 4 hour hugging price. You got the 50 just crossing the 200, extremely bullish. So maybe we're pulling back to the 20, and on the 1 hour, we have the same thing going on. Maybe that's what we're waiting for, just a pull back to the 20 to push up higher. On the daily Bollinger Bands, we got resistance off the top band. As you can see here, that's part of the reason why we're pushing back down, along with the golden zone. So it's confluence to push price down. Probably going to be a temporary move. Nothing to be too concerned about. And also on the 4 hour, we were outside of the Bollinger Bands, and now we're pushing back inside of it. So let's see if we can end up pushing and trying to push the barriers higher and higher on the red band as we continue our way up. And we're going to look at global liquidity and measure it against Microstrategy. Right now, I typically have the 85-day offset for Bitcoin, but for MSTR, it's a little bit different. So I'm just going to try and measure this up. When I measure out Microstrategy versus global liquidity, this is kind of what I get. I tried matching it up as good as I could. This is kind of where I see it at. It looks like it led it on both blow off tops, as you can see here. It was riding up with it pretty consistently. And then once you got the aggressive moves in the last 2 or 3 weeks, you can see it kind of deviated to the upside and then fell and started to underperform and deviated to the downside afterward. So let's see if that's something that we get here, where we kind of just follow it, and then as we get these large moves, maybe MSTR will start to break to the upside higher. Like for instance, let's say we're supposed to continue following this track. Maybe instead of following this track, we just kind of break upward and then we pull down and then up some more. I don't know if you kind of get my idea. Kind of just just throwing ideas out there. More than likely not going to happen, so don't use this as trading advice or anything like that. It's not financial advice. Just comparing global liquidity to MSTR, because we normally just do it to Bitcoin. And this offset is a 60-day offset on MSTR. I feel like it plays out pretty well. I'm not too worried about it being exact, but I just want to have an idea. And it seems like it's pretty spot on with the 60-day offset. So this is what we could be anticipating. Don't look at these numbers and think that this is exactly what we're going to get. It could be. I hope it is. But don't bank on that. So just have a plan and try not to get too emotional when these numbers start, pushing up higher. You got to, stay level-headed. And, that's what I'm here for, to try and keep everybody level-headed, keep myself level-headed, and make sure that we execute when the time is necessary. But I think we're still in the middle of this right here. We're somewhere in here or somewhere in here. We haven't even really started the drastic moves to the upside. And honestly, like when you take a look at this move here, there wasn't really any large spikes in global liquidity besides this first leg here, this one here, and then this last major leg here, where you have like a straight vertical kind of shoot up. And I feel like in this one you have minor ones here. I wouldn't really call these. I mean, I guess you could say this first one, maybe this one, not even. But you have this and this and then this one. Those are major moves that are coming up. I think they're going to be very significant. And when you look at them, it kind of reminds you of what we had for our blow off top. But it looks like it's not going to be a blow off top. It looks like it's just a large move, a pretty big pullback, and then another large move, and a large pullback, large move. So we'll see what comes out of it, but it's definitely looking bullish. And we're actually going to look at MSTR versus MSTX really quick, just to see, because I know we were talking, in speculation. Last time we were talking about MSTR versus MSTX, we said that it was currently doing it was currently at a 2.2x of MSTX was outperforming MSTR by 2.2x, because we were at like, for instance, like 67% here, and then MSTX was at like 170 something. I forgot exactly what it was. But now MSTR, we're going to go up to the wick, has ran up 82%, and MSTX has ran up 199%. So when you divide that, MSTX up to the top of this wick has done 2.42x. So you see how it's already increasing as we continue going up higher and higher. The gap is starting to spread. So it goes from, initially it's a 2x fund, but you saw in the first, 60% on MSTR, it was 2.2x. And then MSTR hits, 80 something percent, 82%, whatever it was. And now we're already at 2.4. So what happens when, MSTR goes up, 200% in that entire move? The spread just gets larger and larger, and then it could be a 2.7x, it could be a 3.2x, and that's when MSTX will really start doing some crazy things if we can continue an uptrend. But I just wanted to share that with you guys, that what I started to notice, the spread for the multiple is increasing from MSTX versus MSTR. So keep that in mind. We're going to look at, Bitcoin on a small time frame, in case we have anybody that's trading these volatile moves. We have a simple flag pattern being formed. This is a pretty easy one to chart up. You have your resistance above your head, and then you have a level of support here. So anything underneath here, you can expect price to break underneath, hold, retest, and potentially push down further to this next level. And if you break that, then you can fall even lower, down to 99.1. and to the upside. You break here, hold, retest. Now you're looking to break this wick. If you break that wick, then you have to look on higher time frames to the left, and there's a lot of wicking action in here. Expect resistance if you were to even break that wick. But ultimately, once we break, this is the ultimate break that you want to see. You want to break 107.8, 107,800, close, retest, and then break all-time highs at 109K, and then we can push up from there. That's what we want to see at the end of the day. It could come sooner than we anticipate. As you can see, this move took practically no time at all. So hopefully that continues, the trend continues. And we're gonna go and talk about the pause that we were speaking of the other day. It looks like it's starting to play out pretty well. We were speaking about how Bitcoin sometimes likes to rally during these pauses. It's not 100% accurate. And we're also saying how the market is forward looking, but you can see during the pause, the pause started here. When you line that up, it almost lines up with exactly where we started to rally from. You see a major rally, then it dropped a little bit, but we continued that rally off of this pause here. And then now we paused. We're going sideways. Now we have an extended pause, and now we're starting to rally again. So, of course, this was, you had economic uncertainty with tariffs and then Trump being elected and all of that political stuff, which, I think is part of the reason that we had this major drawdown. But it's also part of what Bitcoin normally does anyways, So like when you take a look here, we were talking about this prior, Bitcoin's, fell 33.5%, and then Bitcoin fell 32.1%. So it did what it normally does. Like there's no difference. So it wasn't a surprise at all that this was just a temporary pullback to continue price. Yeah, this is actually healthy. What would have been scary is we rallied like this, got no pullback, and then continued pushing up higher. That would have scared me, because if we got no pullbacks at all and we just kept going to like 130, I would probably be calling that and saying, hey, that might be the top for the cycle, because that's just not realistic to hold such a large move without any pullbacks. Like that's just not healthy for price. Whenever we get those crazy moves, it's usually a dramatic pullback after that, or a crash, honestly. But anyways, back to the pause. You can see here in the pause dropped a little bit, and then we got our massive rally during the pause. So it does happen. You can see we got our large move here in 2021, right at the pause, and it just played out pretty well. It seems like you actually get your tops during the pause, which is actually an interesting take. We're going to look at Tether Dominance too, but it looks like the tops happen during the pauses. We're going to look at Tether Dominance here. And yeah, I mean, this was kind of in the middle of a hike, but this top here on Bitcoin was during a pause, during a pause, during the pause, another top on Bitcoin during the pause. The most recent top in December, January, that was during a pause as well. So starting to look like a coincidence. I don't know. Is it a coincidence, or is this, what it happens to do? I'm not too sure. But let's see if we stay paused for, who knows, another meeting or so. And let's see if we make it down to that blue line. And then they cut right when we hit the blue line. And then that's maybe when we get our next pullback to the next line, where maybe when we get that cut, maybe it's when we already make our way to the top. Tether Dominance touches the blue line, and then we pull back and we do something like we just did right now, and we pull back to like the 618 or something, which we've seen happen prior. Like let's say we make it all the way up there, we pull back to the golden zone right here, and you draw out the golden zone. The bottom of the zone coincides with the old, which will be the old previous high. If we're breaking out, pull back, retouch this, or we just touch the top of this. So maybe we land somewhere 690 to 580. If we were to break all the way up to like 1100 or so, get that reset to the bottom of the channel, and then continue for the next leg, possibly the final leg of the entire cycle. But we'll see. It all depends on right translated versus left translated and economic data. Like and subscribe if you guys want to see more content like this. Share with a friend. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next one.